Hello guys, welcome back into the channel. I'm actually on camera today, which is a bit uncomfortable for me, but I'm doing this for you guys. So to thank me, please make sure that you do subscribe to the channel. Make sure you like the video, you share, and also comment if you have any questions. And if it needs a response, then I'll respond as soon as I possibly can. Cool. So today it's a bit of a different video because we are looking at academic literacy, the other test in the NBT. So for the past videos, we've actually been looking at maths. So today I'm going to be looking at academic literacy. So for this video, I'll just be looking at what academic literacy is about and some of the components that are actually going to be tested in the test. And then for future videos, which perhaps I'll be uploading from next week on Monday, I'll be uploading videos where I actually do past papers, explaining them, and you can then see me doing the multiple choice. Now, I don't think anyone is doing academic literacy videos, so please make sure that you do watch them, you do check them out. And also with academic literacy, it's a test that everyone has to write. It doesn't matter which program you're going to be applying for. So if you want to do well in this, make sure that you do watch the videos, make sure you do like and everything. But also the other thing that I actually wanted to say was that before I upload any of the academic literacy videos where I actually do past papers, I'm going to need this video to reach, let's say 30 likes. So if I do reach 30 likes, then I'm going to start dropping those videos. But if I haven't reached 30 likes yet, then, I'll keep them to myself. The other thing, one more thing before we actually start with this and talk about academic literacy is that if you want past papers to NBTs, whether it's for maths or for academic literacy, then you can contact me. I will link my Instagram in the description of the video. Yes, so I have like 5 past papers of academic literacy with memos, and that is going to be 200 for all of them. So I think that's a very good price. And for maths, I have about 2 papers with memos, and that's also going to be 200. So please reach out to me, and please make sure that you reach out if you got the money. If you ain't got the money, just make sure that you just continue watching the videos because I'm going to be uploading the content. And just make sure that you like it. Okay, cool. So that's out the way. So let's get back into what I wanted to discuss in this video. So for academic literacy, you need to be able to understand and comprehend academic information. Now, it's not that easy, especially if you do not speak English on a daily basis or you don't speak English at home, because sometimes you might have to actually translate the English information that you see into your own language. And the other thing about it is that this is not stuff that's really covered in English at school. So it's a bit of something different from what you do in English at school. But some parts do apply because you do grammar and all that stuff at school. So yeah, it's not bad. Now let's start with the definition of what academic literacy is. And then after that, I'll go through the components that are going to be covered in the NBT. Cool. So what is academic literacy? Academic literacy refers to a set of skills and abilities necessary for understanding and effectively engaging with academic texts, concepts, and practices. Now, it involves the ability to read, comprehend, critically analyze, and evaluate scholarly materials such as textbook, research papers, and articles. Now, when you write a test, you won't necessarily be reading a textbook, but you will be reading some sort of text that you're going to be asked questions on. So that could be like 1 to 1.5 page long that you read, and then you need to then apply yourself and make sure that you can really engage with the information, comprehend it, and then be able to answer the questions. Now, the tricky thing about it with AQL and what I found difficult when I was writing it was that it just seems like all the answers can look correct at the same time. So you really need to pay attention to key small details in the text, and you will find those key points that you need to be taking into account. All right, cool. So what are some of the components that are going to be included in this test? Now, these components that are going to be included in the test are listed right here. So number one is that you need to understand academic vocabulary. So there's vocabulary for everything, right? So there's vocabulary that you use when you speak with friends, so you might use more colloquial language. But when you're looking at academic language, it's going to be more formal language. So you need to be able to understand that academic vocabulary. So some of the things that are going to be tested there is your knowledge of the vocabulary, your ability to comprehend information, and then also your grammar and text relation is going to be tested. Number two, the second component that is going to be tested is going to be metaphors and idioms. Now, metaphors and idioms, I'm sure some of you guys have done them in the past grades. So now you need to be able to see them within a text and understand what they mean. So that involves inference, and also that just involves being able to interpret them. So again, the things that are going to be tested there is ability to comprehend them, and then also looking at grammar and text relations. Cool. The third component that's going to be tested is going to be your ability to understand relations between the different parts of a text. Now, in a text, there's different parts, right? You have different paragraphs, and also you have different types of sentences. You have simple sentences, compound sentences, complex sentences, compound complex sentences, and all those types of sentences. So what you then need to be able to do is to be able to understand it, and some of the things that are going to be tested will be like scrambled text, ability to comprehend text. So you can see that text comprehension pretty much appears all the time because the NBT is really about your ability to comprehend academic information and be able to, understand it and then be able to answer questions based on it. Now, the questions are not as difficult as having to write down certain answers, but they will be packaged in such a way that you have to answer them in a multiple choice form, which can be a little bit challenging, but I think if you do watch the videos that I'll be posting, then you should be fine. Or if you do get the papers that I talked about earlier in the video, then you should be able to be fine. As long as you've done your practice, you should be fine. Cool. And also, you just make sure that you do well, guys, because if you're applying to a top institution like the UCT, VETS, sometimes you can have very good matric results and then not be able to get it. So, for example, if you're applying for medicine, that is a very competitive field. So there's many people that are getting just as much distinctions as you do, but you end up not qualifying because you didn't do well in your NBT. So this is something that you need to make sure that you take serious. Okay, cool. That was a bit of a segue. Let's get back into the video. Next is understanding text type. So that would be the genre of the text. So you need to be able to understand the register and the text type. You need to be able to interpret graphs and visual information. Now, graph and visual information will appear a lot. And that's basically the quantitative literacy part of the test, because the test is academic and quantitative literacy. So the quantitative part is when you have to be able to interpret graphs and some visual information. The other thing that will be tested there is scrambled text, and again, text comprehension, grammar, and text relations. The fifth part, interpreting graphic and visual information, so graphs. Many different types of graphs are going to be tested, as well as comprehension. Now, some of the things that can be tested could be things like histograms, bar graphs, pie charts, line graphs, scatter plots, and many more. Now, those things are done in MathsLit, and you also do them, I think, quite in more detail if you do pure maths. So they're not meant to be hard, but you just need to make sure that you're paying attention and you're able to read the information that has been given. All right. Then the next part is then to be able to distinguish between essential and non-essential information. Now, When you read a text, you need to be able to firstly understand the purpose of a text. Now, if you understand the purpose of a text, then you know what is going to be essential in achieving that purpose of a text. The second thing that you need to be able to do is to understand the audience. So which audience is this text meant for? Now, if you understand those things, you'll understand what is essential and what is not essential. Now, if you look at this video, if I can just maybe say one thing that is not essential that I said, was to subscribe to the channel. Of course, it does help me. It doesn't help you that much, but you know, if you want to help me out, please do subscribe, okay? But it's not the necessary part of the video. The part of the video that's necessary is me giving you guys the academic literacy, defining it, and sharing the components that are going to be asked. Cool. The next component that's going to be tested is your ability to sequence, order, and compute simple numerical information. Cool. So again, that will involve interpreting graphs and some visual information, and then you also have to be able to comprehend text. Now, you can see that text comprehension even comes when you're doing things like quantitative literacy. That's because when you do quantitative literacy, there's still literacy in there. So there's going to be stuff that's written about the graph, and then you get the graph. So you need to be able to understand the information before a graph, understand the graph, and then after that, you should be able to answer questions. The next one, which is probably one of the important ones in an NBT, is finding evidence, making inferences, and extrapolating. So you should be able to read information and based on that information, be able to reach certain conclusions. Now, we talk a lot about don't jump into conclusions and all of those things, but you kind of need to. So when you get information, you need to be able to use that information to reach some sort of conclusion. And that's basically what making inferences is about. And then extrapolating information. Now, extrapolating information, it means that if I tell you information about 100 people, you need to be able to extrapolate that information and tell me about 1,000 people. So that's what it means. And the things that are going to be tested in that is basically your text comprehension, verbal reasoning, and ability to interpret graphs and visual information. And then the second last part is understanding the communicative function. And there, again, you're going to be tested on text comprehension, as well as your grammar and text relations. And then lastly is making meaning beyond the sentence. So this is also very important because you can be given information, but you need to find the meaning beyond it, meaning that you have to find implicit. So you have to see what is being said, but not only seeing what is being said, but also see what is not being said. So that would be knowing how to get explicit information. Explicit information is information that is there in the text, but there's also some implicit information that you can elicit from a text. So you need to be able to do those things. And some of the things that are going to be tested there is going to be your comprehension, register and text types, scrambled text, and ability to interpret graphs and visual information. So that would be it for this video. Please make sure that you do like, do subscribe, and do share the video. If you have any questions, please make sure that you do comment. If you want papers, DM me on Instagram, and I will get back to you as soon as possible. Now, that's it for this video. Catch you guys on the next one. Cheers.